Hey everybody, Ed here with the Digital Digest, and today I wanted to give you guys a quick update on my experience with the Microsoft Surface Pro. So this is the first computer ever manufactured by Microsoft, and it happens to be a tablet. But I want to start off this update for you guys by pointing out that it's a false equivalency to be comparing this tablet to any other on the market right now. Granted, there are some computers out there in the shape of tablets like this made by third-party companies. A lot of the OEM vendors that Microsoft does business with, like Dell, Asus, Acer, Sony, even the Duo 11, those all kind of fall into this hybrid form that's come out now, and that Surface Pro really does embody. This is basically the reference hardware for Windows 8 if you're looking to be able to have it in a tablet form. So how does this end up working out? That's what I want to give you guys an update on, because I have spent enough time with it to tell you how I feel about it so far. You can see I've installed some games through Steam, which I mentioned in the unboxing are functional on this tablet. I'll be showing you guys that in another video. But what I wanted to focus on today is performance and really what Microsoft has gotten right here with this product, and what I wouldn't say is wrong with it, but won't suit every single user's need. Now, as I mentioned before, let's stay away from comparing this to the iPad or, of course, the Nexus 10 or any other competing mobile OS-based operating system that's running on a tablet that can give you 10 hours of battery life, because this is a tablet that is a full-fledged Ultrabook in a tablet form factor, because that's the only thing that it shares with those other products I just mentioned. But you're going to get battery life that reflects the fact that you have an Ultrabook. Roughly 4 hours so far is what I've been seeing, not getting that closer to 5 that I had hoped for. And when you compare this to the Duo 11, which is very similarly spec'd, the Duo 11 by Sony does have far more configuration, as well as a more robust feature set, more polished product, not in terms of necessarily build quality, because I think Microsoft has done an amazing job. I mean, the quality of this 1080p display is fantastic, and it does rival the Duo 11 screen, but the Duo 11 has the 11.6-inch form factor in its favor. And I bring that up because what I think Microsoft has done really well here is put together a phenomenal piece of hardware that performs incredibly well. And for a first-generation product, this is pretty much a home run. The principal problem it's going to face is price point and personal practicality, because really this is an attempt to make what I see as a one-size-fits-all tablet that happens to be a computer for the mass market. And I'm not quite sure how well it's going to be received, even though I think it's an amazing piece of hardware, and I'm glad Microsoft made it. As a result, I think a lot of people are going to find a product like Surface Pro made by one of their more familiar go-to computer manufacturers that they already deal with. Now, that's not to say that they'll have made a better product, because Surface Pro right now, from what I've experienced today, outside of its battery life, which is a little bit subpar, but not a major gripe, because again, first generation, guys, you gotta wait and see. Once we get Haswell here, another generation of Intel processors that are going to be incredibly beneficial with regard to battery life, that's going to transform what we see right now on the table. But Surface Pro, as it stands right now, in terms of price point and performance, really completely unmatched, a clear game changer. As I mentioned before, screen quality fantastic. Performance so far has not missed a beat, so it's right on par with the Duo 11 that I have, which does benefit from having more RAM, 6 gigs of RAM, as opposed to the 4 here. Basically the same Core i5 chip, even though the Duo 11 does have a refresh that's clocked a little higher. And you know, the Duo 11 does benefit from having more robust features, but that's where I wanted to go with basically selecting a product like this from any other manufacturer. I wanted to mention that because if you chose to go with something like this from any of Microsoft's other partners, such as Asus, Sony, Dell, Acer, anybody that you particularly care to purchase them from, because they all are making some form of this Surface Pro to some extent, you're going to get a product that's built for you. And by saying that, I mean that's going to really be tailored to what you're looking for, whether it's battery life, an example is the Duo 11 with the sheet battery. You're going to be able to get 8 to 9 hours, something that no other machine right now in this class can achieve, including, of course, the tablet that we're looking at right here. But in regard to actual performance and build quality and price point, Microsoft has done a phenomenal job because nobody else comes in at this price point. No one else has this build quality. And I'm including the Duo 11 there because even though the Duo 11 is made really well, it does suffer from some design flaws in terms of, you know, the cables being exposed behind the screen, and all of these different convertible tablets do suffer in one way or another compromise on some level, and that's something that this tablet really does not do. The only true compromise here is battery life and ergonomics. I say ergonomics because even though this is a completely full-featured Ultrabook, it's going to be kind of tough even with the touch cover and the type cover that are sold to really use this in the same way you would a traditional Ultrabook, even an Ultrabook that has a touch screen. So that's where it's going to be really a matter of personal preference. But I wanted to make that clear to you guys because so far I really do like this product. I think that if you purchase it right now, you're going to be completely satisfied with what you get out of the box, given that you're okay with the battery life. Now let's talk about the pen, because that's another big area of interest for a lot of you out there. Some people don't care about having a pen because after all, you've got a 10 input multi-touch screen here, which is amazing. And I have to say, this really, I'm still, drawn on whether or not I feel it's better than what I've seen out of the Duo 11. Again, a larger screen, which is tailored to a different user, and that's the whole point here. If you're comfortable with 10.6, then you're going to feel right at home with this. And it is more on par with what you find from those one-size-fits-all tablets that I've been mentioning before, like the iPad and the Nexus 10. Those, and of course, also the Galaxy Note 10.1. Those are the type of products that anybody should be able to pick up and really enjoy using. And this fits into the same category, even though it's actually a full-blown computer. So that's what's really significant about this. I have not really used the cameras too much yet, so I can't comment on those. But in terms of the operation, how smooth everything is, it really is right on par, if not sometimes seeming a little bit more fast than the Duo 11. So that says to me that this is reference hardware. It's performing as it should. And that's the beauty of having something from Microsoft, because they've really bet the farm on a product like this. And I don't mean that in terms of their profit margins or actual core costs, but I mean the actual act of them entering into the marketplace, giving us a product like this that they've built from the ground up, their first PC in history, and it happens to be in the form factor of a tablet. It's a big gamble. So in regard to that gamble, I think they've done just about everything right. The only mistake is that I do really like the design cues incorporated from the Surface RT. The problems with, or rather the problem with that design is that it really doesn't lend itself to being practical for true computing. So for a work computer, for a professional on the go, it's not going to be for everybody. That's what I'll say right now for my personal use today. And I have been using it with the type cover. So it's not for everyone. So a lot of you are going to find yourself needing a keyboard, wanting something that isn't modular, and there are a lot of different convertible options out there. They're not going to have this build quality. They're not going to have this performance, even if they have extra RAM. And I know that sounds crazy, but on what I've seen so far, it seems to carry through that this is just, if you could have one manufacturer do everything for you, top to bottom, that's what you're looking at here, folks. And it really performs very well. So the pen, really nice touch. I've noticed that the hover feature works incredibly well, outclasses every other device that I've used across every other platform. So that says a lot for the attention to detail with the pen input. I want to also point out that this does not come with Office. For those of you who are curious, if you hit the capacitive start button there at the base of the screen that brings you to the tablet interface, you can go ahead and see right here we do have Microsoft Office, but unfortunately you're given the intro to essentially go for either activating, buying it, or going through a demo. So for those of you curious if Office is included, it's not. I'm not going to say this is a gripe right now, because you do have to keep in mind, for the hardware, the quality of build, and the overall performance, the price point is going to seem high only to people who are comparing this to tablets they should not be. If you're comparing this to actual Ultrabooks, then it's right there at a value point. And I know that sounds crazy, but go ahead and compare it to other Core i5 machines that won't even be able to approach the weight class of this device. and you'll start to realize that it is more value-oriented than you know. Another thing to point out about price is that do expect it to come down like anything else. Even though these sold out today, which is a good thing for Microsoft, even though we have no idea how many they've manufactured, which is pretty key in determining how well of a success rate a sellout really is. The point is here that this product is going to mature and develop and get better. So the design cues, as I was mentioning before, that it takes from the RT that don't really lend itself to being more than a tablet. And that's something that, even though aesthetically it's pleasing and I like the build quality and it feels good when I'm using it,